What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome to TRU Raider Podcast. I am your host, TRU Raider. Now, what I wanted to talk about today, and I'm just hitting you guys with my lunch break. I wanted to go live last night for the Talk About Raiders Tuesday. There's a lot of things going on. It just didn't work out, man. It is what it is. So, after watching this Super Bowl, right? Like, there's this big thing that's happened in all the content creators, mainstream media. All I'm seeing is quarterback, quarterback, quarterback. Who's the Raiders quarterback going to be? I even did a video talking about the quarterback, right? And I don't know about you guys, but when I watched, and I was hesitant, right? I wasn't going to watch the Super Bowl because I'm like, man, F them. I don't want Kansas City to get the ratings, da da da. And a buddy of mine's like, yeah, but wouldn't you want to see if Kansas City gets it handed to him? I said, man, you know what? You're right. You're right. I would like to see that. And I got to tell you guys, that was like the most I enjoyed a game since we played the Chiefs last year for Christmas, right? Uh, I loved watching that game, man. That was so gratifying. But the common thing that I saw in this game was that the defense just absolutely dominated. Billy in the building. What's up? What's up? How you doing? I'm trying something new. You gotta let me know if I'm coming through clearly. I'm using my streaming software on my phone, which I've never done that on a live before. So let me know if it's working out. But I wanted to be able to put chats up on the screen and things like that. So if there's any video, audio issues, anything like that, you let me know. All right, Billy? But yeah, what I really noticed in this game is that defense wins championships has long been something that has been said in the NFL, and people have really moved away from that, right? Um, and California Dave, man, yeah, seeing Mahomes get punched in the face, priceless, and that's exactly it, right? And people have moved away from this because it's turned into this whole quarterbacks. It's all about the quarterback. This is a quarterback-driven league, and offense is where it's at now. And they devalued the running backs, and defense is whatever, but you need a star quarterback, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, these kind of quarterbacks that are winning championships. And what it comes down to is if you look at Tom Brady with the Patriots, all them years that they were in the Super Bowl, they had an amazing defense, right? They always had a stacked defense, and that was a very common thing for them. And then if you look at the Chiefs, the Chiefs were like probably the most fraudulent team to make it to the Super Bowl this year that I've seen in a while, man, because probably mostly because their defense carried, because their offense really wasn't looking all that good, man. Um, and the thing that sticks out to me is that if you look at Jalen Hurts threw for less than 3,000 passing yards and had 18 passing touchdowns. That is a ridiculously low stat for a quarterback that is now a Super Bowl champion, right? So if we look at, what I wasn't around for the heyday of the Raiders, right? I've been a fan since 2001. I was 14 years old when I became a Raider fan, and I didn't get to see back in the 80s and all that stuff, right? And I've watched old tape, I've watched old games and stuff like that. And what the Eagles really reminded me of was the Raiders back in the heyday, right? This like hard nosed, like winning at the defensive line, and just like playing this amazing defensive football game. And if you look at the Eagles, right? I mean, yes, they've done things like they got Jalen Carter and Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, and they've been using their first and second round picks for several years in a row to go out there and stack their defense. Meanwhile, their offense, I mean, Jalen Hurts is mid. Let's face it, Jalen Hurts is mid. If you look at Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Even Aaron Rodgers on the Jets, they all had better stats than what's going on, over here with Jalen Hurts. Raider Ryan with the salute. What's good? What's good? Um, and really, what's going on with the Eagles is that their defense is just absolutely stacked. And so, if you look at last year, in the offseason, man, I gotta tell you, I was absolutely convinced that we were just gonna absolutely dominate on defense. And we had a good defense, right? But it's because in 2023, for the last 9 games, we had the number one scoring defense in all of the NFL, and that's a big fucking deal. That is a really, really big deal. Marco, I can't Google it right now because I'm on the live, man. But you tell me how many rushing TDs did Hurts have, right? Because I'm not saying that Hurts isn't like a what's the word I'm looking for? He's a mobile quarterback. He definitely he just set the record for most rushing yards in a Super Bowl, right? Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But he's mid. He is not a top tier. He's not a top 5 quarterback at all, right? And so really the defense carried because the offense scored 40 points, but a lot of that was that the Chiefs offense could not get it clicking, and so they got beaten to the dirt. And that's what's been happening for a while now with the Raiders, right? Where our offense has not been able to get it clicking, and so then our defense looks worse by proxy just because our offense is getting beaten to the dirt. Then our defense is having to be on the field too much, right? They're gassed out because a lot of 3 and outs and things like that. They're not getting proper time to rest. They're not getting complimentary football. Okay, Marco, 14 rushing TDs and 18 passing TDs. And there's a point to this, right? And I'll get to that. But I want to talk about defense first. And then we'll get into the quarterback stuff. I only got about half an hour and then I got to get back to work. But if you look at the defense that we have had, things kind of fell apart when Malcolm Kuntz went down with that knee injury before week 1, right? And so we lost Malcolm Kuntz, and okay, had Christian Wilkins, Adam Butler, John Jenkins, and Tyree Wilson is just, he's progressed, but he just has not turned out to be that guy. And then Max Crosby, right? And at the beginning of the year, Max Crosby was playing very, very efficiently next to Christian Wilkins. And then when Christian Wilkins went down with injury, all of a sudden you could see Max Crosby's production started to fall off. And a lot of that is because then they could double him, and then they could really, the offensive line could play better football against Max Crosby because he didn't have Christian Wilkins there. He didn't have Malcolm Kuntz on the other side, right? And so, that really has a huge effect on the kind of production. California Dave Hurts reminds me of a poor man Steve Young. Let's see, James with the Raiders. And, a lot of what I've been seeing, man, is a lot of people are saying, Max Crosby's turned into a diva. Let's just trade him, get rid of him. His production is down. He's been injured. He had that knee injury last year. This year, he had an ankle injury. He's not getting all those sacks, blah, 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 right? And really what it comes down to is Max Crosby has not had the proper help, right? Until this year, he finally got put in position where he was going to have the proper help on that defensive line because, face it, you're an offense and you're looking at how are we playing against this defense, right? And you look across the line, you see, okay, we got Tyree Wilson. Not too worried about him, right? We're going to single him up. Adam Butler, we're going to single him up. John Jenkins, he's getting pretty old. We're going to single him up. And then we're going to double team Max Crosby at almost every snap, right? And we're going to totally disrupt him because Max Crosby is a huge, huge difference maker, right? And it's not all about sacks, though I would love to see Max Crosby get more production than sacks. But really, he was leading with tackles for loss when he went down with the injury. the amount of pressures that he has, the amount of disruption that he has just when he's out there on every play. And that's another thing I'd like to see from Max Crosby. We need to give enough depth to where Max Crosby isn't playing 100% of snaps. And everybody gives him so much credit. Oh, he plays 100% of snaps. It's like, yeah, but if Max Crosby toned it down to where he's playing 85 to 90% of snaps, then the snaps that he's on the field are going to be more productive. You know, he's getting a little bit older and he's not going to be able to sustain, you know, this kind of gameplay. Raiders Full Chris, what's up? Salute. True, what's good, brother? I think we build this D-line around Crosby, bro. Hopefully him and Wilkins can stay healthy. And that's exactly it, right? Going into this next season, we're going to have Max Crosby, and then we're going to have Christian Wilkins. Adam Butler, there's different projections that I keep seeing, anywhere from $5 million to $15 million. Adam Butler is good. He's very productive, but if he's going to cost too much, we're going to have to cut some of our things because we have like 6 unrestricted free agents on defense, man, that we're going to have to be looking at, right? We got Malcolm Kuntz, we got Adam Butler, we got Divine Diablo, which I'm fine with letting him walk. Actually, I really want to let him walk. And then we got Marcus Epps, which he's probably going to end up, you know, walking in free agency. And then we got Trayvon Merrick. I want to bring him back. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. Nate Hobbs. You know, Nate Hobbs has been plagued with injuries, and so we really got to take a look at, like, you know, who are we realistically going to bring back, and who are we going to replace in the rotation with these rookies that we have that have been, you know, on the second, third string, and guys that we're going to bring in the draft, you know, because we can't really afford to just bring back everybody and pay everybody, right? But if Malcolm Kuntz does come back, if you look at, like, he had major production at the end of 2023. He had 8 sacks in 9 games. But if you look at that production, Malcolm Kuntz has not been a starter, right? And those games, I think we only played against 2 starting quarterbacks. So he was playing a lot of backups. And so, yeah, of course, his numbers are going to be boosted. So a lot of people are projecting Malcolm Kuntz to get a huge contract out of that. But this last year, 2024, was a contract year for Malcolm Kuntz, and he was out with a knee injury all season, and that was very detrimental for his value. And because that was detrimental to his value, if Malcolm Kuntz wants to come back on the Raiders, then he's going to have to settle for less money on a more prove-it kind of deal, because we need to see, was that production just situational? Was that production just because you were playing against these backups? Was that production something that's going to continue after coming back from a knee surgery? Because if we don't have all of that information, how are we going to go out there and sign him to a big deal? If they go out there and they pay Malcolm Kuntz a bunch of money, I'm actually going to be pissed off because I need to see more out of Malcolm Kuntz. California Dave Kuntz had a half season where he played well. Prove it deal. And that's exactly it. We need for him to prove that he's going to be worth that value because, you know, a lot of people are talking like, oh, let's get a Myles Garrett. The problem with getting a Myles Garrett is that he's going to cost a lot of money. And I would absolutely love to get Myles Garrett. Don't get me wrong. I would be super thrilled if we got an announcement that Raiders trade to go get Myles Garrett and blah, blah, blah. And, like, I'm going to be like, okay, we're going to do what the Eagles did, and we're going to bully on the defensive line, and that's going to make it to where we're going to have better production all the way around. I just realized I didn't put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Let me do that real quick. And if we're being a bully on the defense, then all of a sudden it opens things up so much more. But I don't think that Myles Garrett's going to be interested in coming here because he's leaving the Browns, because he's sick of losing. He's getting up there in age, and he wants to go win a Super Bowl. And, you know, you could argue that, like, you know, you get Christian Wilkins and Max on the phone with Myles Garrett and say, hey, look, man, we're going to tear this thing up. Did you watch that Super Bowl? And we're going to go out there and we're going to get this quarterback or that quarterback and blah, blah, blah. And we're going to be able to make this thing click. And I could see somebody maybe getting convinced, okay, Nevada has no state tax, blah, 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 right? But really, I don't think that's a realistic option for the Raiders at this time. What I'd more like to see is us go out there and get an Abdul Carter or go get a Mason Graham. But if you look at all the recent, mock drafts that have been going out, those guys are going in the top 5. Those guys are going in the top 4. And it's actually being projected that Shedeur Sanders is going to fall to number 6. And I got to say, I don't want to trade up for Shedeur Sanders, but if Shedeur Sanders falls to number 6, you better go pull his name like your life depends on it, man, because we need a quarterback. Raiders Full Chris, if you could only pick one to sign between Kuntz and Chasen, who would you bring back? That's a difficult decision because, man, Chason, he did play well, but he's in the same kind of boat where it was just kind of like he had a couple of good games towards the end of the year and not really enough for us to really make a huge determination. So I would probably bring back Kuntz because the way knee surgeries go nowadays, they work out a lot better than they used to, and he's probably going to come back and be pretty healthy. But I would love to see a world where we have both of those guys. Can you imagine Malcolm Kuntz and Chason, and Tyree Wilson? Tyree Wilson is not excellent. He's not worth his draft stock or what we spent on him draft wise, but he is a decent guy to have out there. And with all these pieces in place, honestly, I think that we end up in a position where our defensive line is going to look pretty damn good. Papa T, what's good? Can we count on Max being here? It sounds kind of 50-50 right now. And it kind of does, honestly, man. And that's actually pissing me off because I love Max Crosby. I love so much about his work ethic, his effort, his leadership, his production, the fact that he's in recovery. I'm a guy in recovery too, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many things that I absolutely love about Max Crosby. But the thing is, man, is that there's some weird talk. And, there's this thing that got me, right? And I heard somebody else talking about it, and it really made me think, like Max Crosby isn't on one of these teams where he has no access to the owner. He is a guy that he's like, he chills with Mark Davis. Him and Mark Davis are tight. And so I don't know why he's going on all these podcasts and saying all this shit. He's talking too much. He's way talking too much. He needs to chill the fuck out and just kick back, because Spytek and Tom Telesco, John Spytek and Pete Carroll made it very, very clear in their introductory press conference that they plan on bringing Max Crosby back. That is very, very clear. And I get it. He's in a spot where he's like, man, I need to know what's happening because he's had so many different regimes and such. It's been a shit show. It has been an absolute shit show. And I get it. He wants to win, but he needs to kick back because he's about to get paid. I can almost guarantee he's going to get paid. The best decision that John Spytek and Pete Carroll could make right now, Mark Davis, Tom Brady, all this, the best decision they could make is to go ahead and renew Max's contract. Because right now we're paying Max until 2029 regardless, right? If he left tomorrow, we're paying him until 2029. So might as well get a new contract on him, give him some guaranteed money up front. I heard somebody talking about that the cap hit on Max Crosby would probably actually be pretty low for this coming year, which I like that, man. That's where we messed up with Derek Carr, is that the cap hit was always too much. Tom Brady always had a successful team because he worked with the cap. He worked to take less money. That way he could have more wins, more production on the field, right? But yeah, so Max, he's probably going to be here, honestly. But, if there's ever a time to move him, it would be right now. But I'd be willing to bet that Max Crosby gets some guaranteed money. He probably gets an extension, and they'll probably give him 2 or 3 years guaranteed money with, on probably like a 4-year deal. Let me see. We'll have an out after that. Papa T, I'd feel better if he would just stop playing with his words about what he's doing. Yeah, and that's like part of the problem is that he's talking too much. He's in the media too much. He's on podcasts and talk shows. I was just watching a thing with him and John Gruden. Why is he on a thing with John Gruden, man? Like, just I don't like that kind of stuff, right? And so, real quick, because I don't have too much time, I want to start talking about quarterbacks, right? Because there's so many people out here that are saying, no, I don't want Sam Darnold. No, I don't want Aaron Rodgers. No, I don't want Shedeur Sanders. There's even people that say they don't want Cam Ward. And I will tell you that all four of those quarterbacks are better than Jalen Hurts. And maybe somebody's going to disagree with me. I believe that all of those quarterbacks are better than Jalen Hurts. How many throws did we see Jalen Hurts chuck down the field and they just dropped completely short? Completely short. And he had some good throws, right? He tends to have pretty good completion percentage, but he's not a guy that's going to go out there and throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and shit like that, right? So what it comes down to is, and I said this last year and I'm going to say it again, we do not need a top 5 quarterback in order to get to the playoffs and maybe even the Super Bowl. We do not need that. And I'm sick of everybody just being convinced that we need the next Patrick Mahomes in order to have a chance at winning the division and winning the Super Bowl. I don't think we need that. I think we need a top 15 quarterback. You get a top 15 quarterback, like, okay, let's say you put Jalen Hurts on the Raiders. Does that automatically make you feel like we're going to go win a Super Bowl? No, it doesn't, right? And why is that? Because the Eagles are stacked everywhere else. The Eagles are stacked on the offensive line. The Eagles are stacked on defense. And yeah, they got Saquon Barkley, but that was just like the little piece to put him over the top. And his production in the Super Bowl wasn't even that good. Raiders full Chris, I'm probably dreaming, but I want to trade for Stafford. See, if we got a Matthew Stafford, a Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, all these guys, Russell Wilson, all those guys are bridge quarterbacks. And I could even see a world where Justin Fields has the same production as Jalen Hurts, right? So it's not like there's not quarterbacks that are going to be available that could be serviceable enough to get us where we need to go. California Dave, every QB you mentioned is 10 times better than what's currently on our roster. And that's another thing, man. It's like I keep seeing people in the comments, like just, all over social media on my comments, just kind of like blasting like any ideas about quarterback. And it's like, what is it that you want to do? I'm even seeing people that are like tank for Arch Manning. Like, what are we even thinking, man? We just brought in this whole new regime that's talking about that they're not trying to do a 5-year rebuild, but they are trying to do a quick turnaround. And a quick turnaround to me means that we're likely going to draft a quarterback and we're going to sign a free agent quarterback. There's no way we run it through with Aiden O'Connell and Garner Minshew. That's a recipe for disaster. And Aiden O'Connell, if he was mobile, you could lump him in there with Jalen Hurts, right? But he can't run. And so then he's like, okay, you got somebody that's going to, probably have the passing stats that Jalen Hurts has, right? But without the rushing stats, that's it's just not going to make it happen, right? And so since he's not a dual threat, do we need a dual threat? Not necessarily, right? But if we don't have a dual threat quarterback, we need somebody that's more productive. So if we're going dual threat, then we go with a Justin Fields or something like that, right? But if we're going more for, okay, somebody that's going to be pass production, if you look at Sam Darnold, he had 35 touchdowns of 12 interceptions, 40, I think it's 4,300 passing yards. Like, that looks amazing to me, honestly. You put that on this Raiders team when we're healthy, right? with the Brock Bowers, with the Michael Mayer, with the Jacoby Myers. We could use a real wide receiver one or even a wide receiver two, right? But Brock Bowers kind of makes up for that a lot. So we got that. We need to upgrade our running game. Or if we brought in a Matthew Stafford, all of a sudden we're in a position where we can make a quick turnaround. But really, what I want is somebody that's a bridge guy. Somebody that's going to be, because I want to draft a quarterback, right? Whether it's a Cam Ward, a Shador Sanders, a Jackson Dart, one of these guys. But Tom Brady has talked about like sitting a guy for a year, and I like that. I like that idea. But who could we bring in for a 1 year deal? Because Sam Darnold is probably looking for a 3 or 4 year deal, and I don't really like that, right? I saw somebody floating the idea of giving Sam Darnold a 3 year deal with 2 year guaranteed money, and then an out on the third year. And I like that, right? Because you bring Sam Darnold in the building, and if he is just really, really productive, then why move on from him, right? If it's working, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But it'd probably be just like the Vikings all over again, where you have somebody who's drafted high, sitting behind him, just waiting for an opportunity to go and start. It's like, at what point do you just roll forward with your new guy? Right now, Vegas has us listed as the second most likely team to sign Sam Darnold, with the Vikings being number one. And the Vikings coach went out there and said that Sam Darnold has earned his right to test free agency. Chris Raiders full Chris. Arch Manning might not even come out next year. Do you think we trade up in the draft to get Shador? I don't even know if we would have to at this point. A lot of the mock drafts are going out and saying Shador falls to number 6. And if we can stay put at number 6, I'm all about that. But the Titans right now have put it out there that they're willing to sell the number 1 pick, but we don't know the price yet. The price is going to be lower than most years, and to move from 6 to 1 would be way better than last year trying to move from 13 up to 2, right? But I don't know that he's worth trading for. But I'll tell you this. I believe that Shador Sanders is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. Might not all agree with me on that, but I honestly believe that Shador Sanders is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. But if we're trading away a bunch of draft capital to get him, then that puts it to where it's harder for us to put the pieces around him. You know what I'm saying? California Dave, if we trade for a QB, I'm taking Geno Smith as a bridge. Geno Smith, I mean, even Geno Smith played better than Jalen Hurts in the passing game. I don't know Geno Smith's rushing yards and touchdowns, though. Papa T, crazy part is Darnold is putting up the same numbers Carr was before he left. Yeah, but the problem is that Carr was costing way too much money. Way too much money. And that was his downfall, man. And okay, a big part of Carr's downfall as well was Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels, I don't think he ever wanted to keep Carr. I don't think he did. And do I think that we should have been planning to move on from Carr? I think so. But the way that it got done was stupid. It was absolutely stupid. We got nothing for it. No draft capital. We had no quarterback lined up. Like, it was stupid. Absolutely stupid. Do I think that we would have done better this last year with Derek Carr? Yes. Do I think we would have done better the year before with Derek Carr than Jimmy Garoppolo? Yes. So, yeah, moving on from Carr was stupid. But Sam Darnold not only is going to be cheaper than Derek Carr, but he's also younger than Derek Carr. So if he's comparable to Derek Carr, or at least what Derek Carr was when he was on the Raiders, then, what are we even talking about? Then why, if people loved Carr so much, why not go get Sam Darnold, who's comparable, Oh, Marco, Seahawks have just stated that Geno is their guy. Okay. And see, and I haven't really talked about Geno Smith much because so many people saw Pete Carroll get hired and they said, oh, Russell Wilson. Oh, Geno Smith. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that we're going to go and get DK Metcalf, which I would love it. I saw a thing on social media about that Bobby Wagner was like fingers crossed when it came to Pete Carroll signing with the Raiders. If we could pick him up, I'd be all about it. But just because they have a pass doesn't mean anything's gonna happen. Let me see. I'm almost out of time, man. So I gotta be quick on this. Papa T. I'm in Colorado, and I've been following SS since he got here. He's better than some of his games have shown that he's never in the negative news. I think that Shador Sanders is good. I honestly do. And people are talking trash about this draft class, and I have a feeling that we're gonna get three, maybe even four quarterbacks that come out this year that turn out to be good quarterbacks in the league. I don't know, man, and I could be off, right? But when I watch the tape on these guys, I like what I see. I don't like what I see as much as I like to Jaden Daniels. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely loved everything I saw in Jaden Daniels. I was like, this guy is gonna just come over here and ball out, and he did. But like, I don't see Shador Sanders coming out and getting Rookie of the Year. I don't. But do I see Shador Sanders coming into the league and being that guy that develops and being able to take his team to the playoffs consistently? I do. I absolutely do. Let's see. Let's see. Oh shit, Gunsmoke, what's good? What's good? All right. So basically what it comes down to, right, is what I want to see this Raiders team do is absolutely focus on, and we got a defensive minded head coach, right? If we hold on to our draft capital, and if Sanders falls to us, sure, get him at 6, right? If not, I want to see us start stacking this defense because the more we stack this defense, the better able we're going to be able to carry this offense, right? And if we get any kind of all right, you end up with Sam Darnold, you end up with uh, any one of these bridge free agents that we've discussed. As long as our defense is holding it together, it in a Chip Kelly offense, I see these quarterbacks really being able to take us to the playoffs. Honestly, as long as we don't totally mess up when it comes to quarterback and start Gardner Minshew again, I honestly believe that we can turn it around and we can be in playoff contention immediately. But you guys know about as much as I do right now. And the one thing I do know is that I gotta get my ass back to work. So, like always, I love you, nation. I'll catch you on the next one.